Hey kids, Joe Beaver coming at you. This is something I've been meaning to do for a couple of weeks now because I had this in the mail ever since it came out on release day. I had Amazon ship it to me like the day it came out, so I was looking forward to hearing this album a lot. But anyway, it is Chuck Berry's newest and last album, well, as far as we know, unless they decide to release more unreleased material that he may have recorded, I don't know. But as far as we know, this is the last Chuck Berry album. And, it's one of those things that I didn't really want to, do too quickly. I really wanted to take my time and listen to it multiple times and really get a good feeling of, just a feeling of how the album felt and sounded, without trying to jump on here and be the first person to review it and all that stuff. That's not what's important to me when it comes to one of the greatest rock and rollers who ever lived, Chuck Berry. And it's still one of the great regrets of my life that I wasn't able to see Chuck live. That's one reason why I see so many concerts, because you never know when it's going to be too late. And with Chuck it was. But we still have this album, his last album here. And, 90 years old. But the main thing I can say after listening to this multiple times, it's lived in my car for about 2 weeks now, just listening to it all the time. It's really good album. It doesn't just lay there. Some things you think, okay, this is gonna be awesome, and then you kind of get through the first listen of it, and you're like, yeah, that was cool, but then you never go back to it. This I've listened to over and over and over and over, and it really feels, actually, it feels like classic Chuck Berry. And it's one of those things where there's not really anything new here. It's all new songs except for like You Go to My Head, which is an old jazz standard, which is actually kind of odd hearing it in the way it is, because I know the old songs so well. So it took a couple of listens to kind of get the feeling of it, because he definitely does his own take on it. But after listening to it a few times, I'm like, this is cool. It's Chuck. He's doing it the way he does it. It's cool. But overall, it kind of reminds me of the way you feel when you hear a new AC/DC album is coming out. You're like, yeah, but you know exactly what it's going to sound like. But is that a bad thing? No, because it's awesome. You know exactly what it's going to be. You know it's going to be awesome. Same thing with Chuck Berry. Is there like a couple of rehashes of things that sound like Johnny Be Good and Roll Over Beethoven? Yeah, but they're some of the greatest rock and roll songs ever written. How can you beat that style from the man who created that style? It's at 90 years old, he's still rocking on this thing. There's several things on here that kind of made me get my guitar out and think, hey, I want to work out this lick again. So even at the end of his life, he was still inspiring and still able to find something that just makes you want to play like him and want to learn just the little nuances. Because the thing about Chuck Berry's playing is, it sounds simple, but there's so many little things inside of it that isn't simple, and takes time to really dig in and be able to play it, and then be able to play it with the feeling that it's meant to have. And that's just something else entirely. And like I said, he even in the end here, he's still coming up with stuff that makes you go, okay, that little thing is just, yeah. And there's several times on this album he's still doing that. And there's a couple things, Big Boys, Lady Be Good, clearly. Is that rehashes of sort of Johnny Be Good stuff? Yeah. Is it a bad thing? No. It's awesome. Jamaica Moon. Is that a rehash of like Havana Moon that he did? Of course it is. It's almost like a carbon copy with a couple of words changed. Is that a bad thing? That's not a bad thing. It's Chuck Berry. when it's Chuck Berry doing that, I mean, where can you go wrong? This right here is really a great album. Chuck there, even at the end of his life, still rocking. And like I said, I've seen a lot of the live videos on YouTube, a lot of you have seen, where he seems like he's struggling to, and I don't know if it's his hearing or what, to try to kind of get, some things, repeating some things. But I mean, even Chuck Berry at his worst is still better than a lot of people. People still copying Chuck Berry to this day. You could say what you want about music changing. This man is still inspiring people. He's inspiring me. He's inspiring many people. This is a good rockin' album. I will say, as far as the sound of it goes, he produced this himself. Let's see the booklet here. Yeah, I always keep the stickers that come on the plastic, so I find some place to put them. So I put that on the back of my booklet here. But see, the last page here shows who all played on it and everything. He had a few guests. That's cool. Mostly his regular band from Blueberry Hill. But yeah, produced by Chuck Berry. And I guess Chuck knows what Chuck's supposed to sound like. But I can't help but thinking that if he had used an outside producer, it would have brought it to a different level. May have given him, some kind of push to do something a little more outside of what he does. Something to make it, a great, great, great album that, tops the charts. And, it kind of reminds me of, like Ray Charles's last records and who all did it? We'll usually do some kind of duets thing or something like that. But I commend Chuck for sticking to his guns and doing it himself. But it could have benefited from an outside producer. Phil Ramone's gone, so he probably would have been the one to do it. But can't do it no more. But I think it could have benefited from that. But that being said, it's not a bad album. It's not. If you love Chuck Berry, you will love this album. If you love good old rock and roll, you'll love this album. Or CD is I got album. But it's well worth checking out. It's really. I've seen some people give it some rough reviews and just sort of here and there things about it, but as far as just good old Chuck Berry rock and roll, that's what it is. And how can you go wrong with that? Seriously, how can you go wrong with good old Chuck Berry rock and roll? You can't. So if you get a chance to hear this, check it out. And like I said, there are a couple of things to, you might complain about here, but overall, it's Chuck Berry doing what he does. I mean, you can almost hear the duck walk on this record. I do have a complaint about Amazon though when they shipped it on here, and this might be something that has to do with these eco packs or whatever you call these little cardboard things anymore. That more and more people are releasing all this stuff on here. But you get the cardboard, and then they wrap it tight in, the plastic wrap, shrink wrap. Right here on the edge, it gets bent. And they talk about how, much better these can be. But, you put in a good old jewel case. If you scratch or break a jewel case, just pop another one on there. Change the booklet or just change the piece of the jewel case that's broken. You can't do that when it's this. So I miss jewel cases. But anyway, that's just my own neuroses and my complaints. But either way, check out Chuck. It's a great album. You want to just crank it up in your car and just rock and roll, it'll do it for you. Check it out.